If you wanted something that was going to get the people talking, WWE was extremely successful in accomplishing that with what just took place in the main event of SummerSlam Night 2. Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Kevin Zwicker from Fast Count coming at you. Before I get into the post show, please remember to hit that like button and subscribe. I am going to be as transparent as I can with you guys. I pride the channel on being apolitical. I think, especially in a world that is extremely divided, when you have a lot of people, from one side of the aisle or the other side of the aisle, always finding ways to combat and alienate each other. I feel like a place like this where it's apolitical, where we can just discuss wrestling and discuss the show is very important, especially in today's day. But I am morally conflicted at the moment based off of what just went down in the main event of WrestleMania, because there's a couple different things that pop into my mind right now. Just to be real with you guys, I don't know if this indication of Brock Lesnar coming back is an indicator that he has been cleared of any wrongdoing when it comes to the Vince McMahon and Janelle Grant lawsuit. I am not sure if this is an indication that they just don't give a fuck and they're going to put them on our TV screens no matter what. There's a whole bunch of different things that are going through my mind at the moment, and it's very conflicting, right? Because on one hand, there's going to be people that are going to be extremely excited that we're going to get Brock Lesnar back on our television screens, because obviously he is a huge draw, right? I think we can all sit there and admit that. But I am just morally and utterly confused. I think that we're going to get more information as the days go by. I already seen John Alba come out and tweet that Brock Lesnar is still involved in the ongoing lawsuit with Vince and Janelle Grant. And it's just interesting to see how this is all going to play out. What's going on, Carson? What's going on? Hindi? Did I pronounce it Hindi right? I think they don't give it. I think that's what it is too. I think they don't care, and I think that they are going to just put them on the screen regardless. Carson, I don't know how to feel either. It's morally conflicting, right? Night one, you think night one was better? I'm gonna be honest with you, man. I think from outside of the Brock Lesnar return, right? And guys, please remember to hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't. It helps the channel out in more ways than you even know. I think night two, from a quality standpoint, just blows away night one. I think night one had a very good opening match with Roman Reigns and Jey Uso, but I think from top to bottom, I think that it was a far superior show in night one, especially with the main event. I think that everybody kind of has that, that bad taste in their mouth from the main event of WrestleMania with Cody Rhodes and John Cena, which, in my opinion, it's not the worst main event in WrestleMania history, but it's in the discussion for one of the worst main events in WrestleMania history. I think they were able to come in here tonight and really be able to redeem themselves. I think that this was John Cena's best match in WWE since his feud with AJ Styles. I know you didn't watch the show. Hope you did something nice for your mom today. I did do something nice for my mom today. If you guys don't know, it's my mom's birthday today. And we did go out and have Mexican. She did not watch SummerSlam tonight. But guys, I really want you guys to sound off as much as possible, especially what went down tonight in the main event. Are you excited for a Brock Lesnar return? Are you not excited for the Brock Lesnar return? Are you enjoying the fact that he's back? Or are you in the position where you don't know what to feel based off of what's going on outside of the ring? I think the cash-in was great. I think that outside of that moment, though, is there anything off of SummerSlam Night 1 that you're really going to be talking about? Obviously, anytime we get a title change and a cash-in, people are going to want to discuss it. But outside of that, I don't think Night 1 was all that great. I think people are going to come out of there talking about Jelly Roll as well. But from a match standpoint, I think Night 2, every single match, maybe outside of the Dom and AJ Styles match, and even then, with it just basically being a greatest hits of Eddie Guerrero tribute match, I think everything kind of hit for the most part. I can't lie, I'm excited that he's back just because it's interesting. So, okay, let's just take away the legal situation, right? And I've had the discussion multiple different times. I think that with Brock Lesnar, just from a character standpoint, he has done everything there is to do when it comes to who he is there to wrestle, right? He's wrestled everybody. Seth Rollins. He's wrestled Roman Reigns multiple times. There really isn't an opponent out there that gets me excited to where it's like, okay, I am willing to overlook all this other potential stuff just to get this match. Outside of Gunther, and we see him make this return, and he's confronting John Cena, which makes it pretty obvious that that's going to be the next match we see John Cena involved in. We've seen them wrestle a million different times. And the last time they wrestled, what, was over a decade ago? I think it's fair to say that this isn't the John Cena that was a decade ago. Like, I think it's pretty fair for us to just admit, even though he is a Mount Rushmore guy, that this isn't the same guy. So I don't think from a match standpoint that really excites me either. I think the Lyra match was so boring I almost turned it off. I thought it was pretty good, man. A match of the night obviously is going to be the main event, but I think the Lyra match was pretty solid. I don't like the fact that Becky won. I think that made no sense at all. I thought the whole point of this storyline was for them to elevate Lyra and have her pick up the big win on a big-time stage, but they went into a different direction, and I saw many people online say that this was Becky's ultimate tribute to Hulk Hogan because she didn't want to do the job, brother, which was pretty funny. Did he do something that improved the show tonight? Brock Lesnar did something to get people talking. He did something to get people talking. I think that The Rock will come and have Cody Celso but return to, I don't know, man. You got to remember this too. The Rock, he has a Smashing Machine movie coming out. So obviously he's going to be doing some press for that. And then he's also going to be filming that new Martin Scorsese movie that he's going to be involved in. So I don't even know if The Rock is going to have enough time. I feel like everybody kind of just banks on The Rock and kind of just crosses their fingers that, okay, this would be the moment where it would make sense for The Rock to make his appearance. But anytime we cross our fingers and say, okay, this is the moment that would make the most sense for The Rock to come, he never comes because it's just so many other things involved in this guy's life. It just feels like he comes in and comes and goes just when the guy feels like it. And whether it makes storyline sense or not, I don't know. I don't think that we should be counting on The Rock. I think that we should just really cross our fingers, and whenever the moment comes, just appreciate him being back on our screen, because I don't think the guy, honestly, doesn't have the time to be doing this on a consistent basis. And I honestly think that wrestling it's a priority for the guy, but I feel like it's maybe like priority number like 3, 4, or 5 on his list of priorities. Just me personally. The show started off with a match that I was the most excited for, and that was the triple threat for the women's title. You guys remember the triple threat that went down at WrestleMania? I thought it was great. I think it was my favorite match between both nights of WrestleMania. And this match wasn't as good as that one, but what really I was able to take from this match is just the evolution of Naomi. Naomi is somebody who, if you guys remember, all the way back in the day was one of the Funkadactyls with Brodus Clay, her and Adrian. And she's always been somebody who, yeah, there's been moments in time where people were into her stuff, especially the glow, but she was never at this point where people were extremely emotionally invested in the character work that she's been able to do. She is hitting her stride right now. You can make an argument that she is the most interesting person in the women's division. I would sit there and agree with that as well. If John Cena won that match, and Cross Game will be the big F. I thought it was pretty. I was worried that Io Sky looked like it hit her really hard. Io is great. I think you can make an argument that Io is the best in-ring wrestler at the moment right now in WWE. Guys, please remember to hit that like button. It really helps the channel out in more ways than you even know. And subscribe if you guys haven't. Always remember these things are free. It's not that big of a deal. And it helps the channel out in more ways than you even know if you are feeling that kind to do that. But heading into this match, in the beginning, I'm a big Naomi fan. Big Naomi fan as well. Not a fan of main event guys. Already have. Driving me nuts. Naomi almost maybe want to watch. Naomi's been doing some great. I thought it was a nice touch. Naomi came out and she was played to the ring by her father. Her father is a musician. So this was another member of that family being introduced to the main roster in some way, shape, or form. But during the beginning of this match, you had Naomi do the typical heel thing that we see where she walks out of the ring, and you had one setting up the stage where the baby faces were going to go up against each other one-on-one. But we saw them come together and have a brief alliance to go at Naomi. It got to a point where they were working on all cylinders, but Io accidentally took a hit to a face by Rhea Ripley, and that kind of made it where it was every woman for themselves. Naomi was able to pick up the W by Rhea hitting the Riptide on Io Sky, where you saw Naomi do the typical heel thing where she rolled Rhea up. Naomi was able to retain. So it becomes official heading into Clash at Paris. We're going to have Naomi one-on-one with Stephanie Vaquer, which I am extremely excited for. If you guys have watched any of the other content that I've talked about, I am a big Stephanie guy. Stephanie is currently my favorite wrestler in all of WWE. I think that she is great, and I think that whether it's today, tomorrow, or next week, there's going to come a time where she is going to overtake Rhea Ripley as the face of the women's division in WWE. What do I think was the worst match in day 2? I would have to say, I would have to agree with you. It was probably the solo match. Now, I don't think that match was bad, but I think that some of the results tonight were kind of funky, right? I didn't think it made sense for Becky Lynch to win. I didn't really think it made a lot of sense for Solo to win, but in the same time, I guess they want to stretch out this story with him and Jacob Fatu. But for me, certain stimulations kind of feel like they're the finale, right? Like in AEW, I talked about this during my post-show for Dynamite. They had Hangman Page versus Jon Moxley for the world title on Dynamite last week, right? Right after they had their Texas Death match at All In, where for me, it's like, okay, after Texas Death, there's really nowhere else to go, right? Feels kind of final. And Steel Cages kind of feel like that same way for me, because I don't know, what do you do to step up, right? Maybe they're potentially setting up another match at War Games. That could be it. There's already rumors coming out that Roman Reigns is going to go back and have another break. So maybe he and, they can align with Jacob Fatu and go up against the MFTs. I think that that's a possibility, but who knows, right? It's really kind of early to tell, but I don't know where you go, because where do you go? Hell in a Cell? Hell in a Cell, you can make an argument that would make some sense to keep everybody out. The steel cage, obviously, they have the open roof where people can go in. But even then, we've seen multiple different instances in the past where we've seen people break into Hell in a Cells as well. So I don't know where they go from there, but time is going to tell. It's coming, right? Let's hope for a payoff. I feel like I've made a lot of videos or a lot of different content where it's like I'm saying, let's cross our fingers and hope there's a logical payoff to this. And there's been multiple times where it's like, no, there was no logical payoff. Like this whole John Cena and The Rock storyline, right? Where he turned heel. I always thought, I was like, God, I was really kind of defensive of it. I was like, there's going to be an instance where The Rock implements himself in this storyline, and I think there's going to be a payoff because this is such a big time story. And nope, there was no payoff to the heel turn. There was one day I just decided I don't want to be a bad guy anymore. So I'm not even going to cross my fingers and say a payoff is coming, but who knows, right? Guys, please remember, hit that like button and subscribe. It helps the channel out in more ways than you even know. It has been a crazy freaking weekend. I'm sorry, I don't understand why John Cena is a face again. He just decided he didn't want to be a bad guy anymore. That's what it was. And I thought that maybe during this main event, maybe it's revealed that this is a ruse, right? No ruse. John Cena just decided, he woke up on Friday morning and decided, I don't want to be a bad guy anymore. That's some lazy storytelling, right? At least if they would have done it tonight, and had it in the ring where there was a moment where you saw on John Cena's face that even if, a lot of people coming into the show were suggesting maybe we could get a double turn with him and Cody Rhodes. And you saw moments and times where it looked like that could possibly be the direction that they're going, but obviously they didn't pull the trigger on that. But I feel like it would have made a lot more sense that we got the face return of John Cena in the ring during the match and not so much the day before the PLE. Bro needed a Snickers, I guess. That's exactly what happened. He just ate a Snickers and he decided, I don't want to be a bad guy anymore. Guys, please remember, hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't. I feel like it kind of annoys you guys when I repeat it a lot, but like it's a part of the job, right? Next, we get into the TLC match. We got the Street Profits, DIY, the Motor City Machine Guns, Faction, Andrade, and Ray Phoenix in the Wyatt Six. Talk about freaking the fall of Ray Phoenix, right? If you guys remember, when it became abundantly clear that both of the Lucha Bros were going to be going to WWE, you saw that Penta was able to leave first, and you saw all these different cryptic tweets from Ray Phoenix, basically, crying for help because he was held hostage by Tony Khan in essence because he wasn't able to go join WWE with his brother because he had more time left on his contract. So it looked as if, the guy was pleading for help, and you would think that, okay, he's making this big fuss about not being able to go to WWE when his brother went because they had big plans for him. And now look at him now, right? Teaming up with somebody who's not even his brother. And you hate to see it because I've enjoyed the Lucha Bros work dating back to Lucha Underground. And I thought, and I've mentioned this multiple different times throughout, the whole time I've been doing content. My favorite AEW match of all time is the Lucha Bros versus the Young Bucks inside a steel cage at All Out 2021. So to see him in a position now where he's not even being able to tag team with his brother is kind of sucky, right? But this match was insane. And I thought what was a very nice touch was before we had this match, they shouted out in the crowd that the Dudley Boys and the Hardys were in attendance. If you guys don't know, they're going to be going one-on-one for one last time at TNA Bound for Glory in October. Cross our fingers that nobody gets hurt, but that should be a big deal, and I'm thinking about covering that show as well. I think Cody versus Roman and Seth versus Punk. Maybe it will be Seth versus Punk versus Roman in the future. I think that the match that I'm most interested in is a one-on-one match between Seth and Roman Reigns. Obviously, they've had matches in the past, but now with the roles being reversed and the character development that they've had throughout the last several years, I'm really interested in that. Roman versus Cody 3, I feel like it's a must. I feel like it needs to happen sooner rather than later. I feel like they have the best chemistry out of any of the people on the WWE roster together. I think they have been able to deliver great matches at both of their main events at WrestleMania. Braun Breaker versus Roman Reigns. I feel like that is, bound to happen as well with all the teases that we have gotten. I think there's a lot of good matches that are set to be taking place. Is Candice alive? That was an insane spot, right? And they won't put the tag titles on World's Best together. One match, reason not to watch. Pops, if you guys don't know, Salty Grampy is my dad. And my dad can be mad anti-WWE, which is crazy because if you guys have paid attention, and I hope that you see it because I make a big effort to be this way, I try to be as objective as possible because we're in a time period where there's a lot of different guys and women who make content when it deals with wrestling where it's very obvious that they're grifting, right? Whether it's kissing ass to WWE or making content simply just to shit on AEW because that's what gets a lot of people attention. I try to be as objective as possible. I tell you guys what I like in both shows. I tell you guys what I don't like. I just try to be as down the middle as I possibly can with you guys because hopefully I think that you guys would appreciate that because I know for me, that's what I appreciate as well. Objectivity. That moment and that match with the TLC where you got the women involved was really insane Because we've seen different TLC matches in the past. You had Lita involved, but we've never seen a TLC match where you've had multiple different women involved, where you saw spots that were just crazy. That Candice LeRae spot where you had Johnny Gargano accidentally push his wife off of the ladder into another group of ladders was freaking insane. The spot where you saw where it looked as if they were going to attempt to recreate the famous moment where you saw Edge spearing Jeff Hardy, where he was hanging from the ladder, and you saw Tommaso Ciampa hang upside down like he was Spider-Man. I thought that was freaking awesome, right? Going into this, the Street Profits, they did an interview before the match, backstage. They were saying, it's been 16 months since we've been on a PLE, which is insane to really think about, because you got people like Jelly Roll, which I commend him for the effort that he put in last night, but let's just be real. From an athletic standpoint, there is no way that I think Jelly Roll should be being on PLEs before the Street Profits. Now, I know, obviously, he is way more famous than them, so WWE cares more so about getting the eyeballs on people than it is actually putting great matches. But it's just a shame, because you know that these guys are working hard. I think yesterday the most happiest person on this earth would be Drew. What did you guys think about the Jelly Roll match? I'm really interested in what you guys think. For me, I wasn't that into it when it got announced, because one, I'm not, I know some of Jelly Roll's music, but I'm not like this guy who's this big fan of the dude's music. And for me, I've kind of always looked at wrestling as one of those things where it's like, it takes a lot of hard work to be able to do what those people do. And Jelly Roll, let's just be transparent about it, right? This guy isn't the most athletically built individual in the world. So for me to see a guy who isn't a wrestler or doesn't have an athletic ability, I just feel like it's a little bit of an insult to wrestling. Maybe I'm just I'm an old man or something, but like I just think it's a bit much, especially on PLEs, right? The Profits are a great team. They are so missed. They are a great team. The Street Profits are great. But you see this match, it was a car crash. You seen ladders going Jelly is the best yes, Jelly is the best yesterday in wrestling. Who do you guys think would win a match? Jelly Roll or the Costco guys? a match that I've always thought would happen, and I kind of sit there and think that it's eventually going to happen. And it's going to be Bad Bunny one-on-one with Logan Paul. That's a match that I think is bound to happen whether people want it or not, right? We already kind of have that built-in rivalry in real life. If you guys don't remember, Logan Paul, who lives in Puerto Rico, he dissed Bad Bunny about, tax. I'm not 100% sure on what, but basically Bad Bunny taking advantage of taxes, right? So you have that kind of built-in thing. Bad Bunny, obviously a Puerto Rican. Logan Paul, he comes out and he hails from Puerto Rico, but obviously not Puerto Rican. These are two stars. I feel like that's a match that is bound to happen sooner rather than later. And something that is going to be interesting going into that match, if it does happen, is who would be the guy calling that match, right? I guess you would think it would be Logan. Logan would have to be the vet in that match because of what, right? He has more matches than Bad Bunny, but it'd just be interesting or to see what was happening. I like the match with Jelly giving interviews about the back-scene stuff, breaking kayfabe before he even had the match yet. It was hella stupid. Not sure if you know what I'm talking about. Dude was not Dennis Rodman. He is not the Worm. I do. I've seen it. Yeah, the Jelly Roll interviews. I've talked about this before too. How like going into matches, basically spoiling what I'm about to see, it takes away from the show to me. I thought that as soon as we saw the John Cena heel turn, and then The Rock goes on and has a press conference basically saying, yeah, we planned this storyline out for this amount of time. And we've been thinking about this and tossing around ideas before we landed on the story. For me, it's like, can we at least wait a few months before we get the breakdown? Like, I don't, does it have to be immediately following this big time emotional storyline? Doesn't have to be. Also, Logan and The Rock would have real life beef, so that'd be an interesting match. Yeah, I remember that when Logan Paul jumped on that. Was it True Georgie, right? Where he jumped on the podcast and talked about how after the Japan incident, The Rock just kind of cut him off and how emotional that was for him, and how after that stink kind of just wore off. You know how he got back in contact with him. Yeah, The Rock is a shrewd businessman. If you guys think about it, right? Just look at all the things that he's done. Very shrewd. You guys, I don't know how into movies you guys are, but I remember when he tried to take over the DC universe. That was crazy, wasn't it? Coming off of Black Adam, maybe that would have worked if Black Adam was actually a good movie, but that movie freaking stinks. Whoo! And DC put out a lot of stinkers prior to Black Adam, but that movie was one of the worst. I think it's up there with the first Suicide Squad, not the James Gunn one. That one was pretty good, but the other one freaking stinks too. What do you think about AJ today? I think WWE is not giving an F to AJ. Everybody. He also tried to take over Fast and Furious. He did. They need to stop making those movies too. I think after Paul Walker passed away, I was just like, what's the point? Because I always thought the most important factors of those movies was the relationship between Vin Diesel and Paul Walker. And with him gone, I was like, what's the point of even making the movies anymore? Do I think WWE gives an F about AJ? I think AJ is 100% content with the spot that he's in with WWE, which is a utility player, which is, hey, if you guys need me to open up the show, cool. You guys need me to be in the middle of the show? Cool. You guys need me to main event an episode of Raw or SmackDown or have a good title match with somebody who I'm obviously not going to win, but I can put on a good match for you guys? Cool. I think if AJ really was unsatisfied with being in WWE, he's had plenty of opportunities to jump to AEW. I know people have kind of crossed their fingers and prayed to the wrestling gods that that's something that was going to happen. I've been one of those guys. I feel like him in AEW would be a better spot because I feel like he'd be in much more significant things. But I think he's comfortable. He's never once discussed not being happy with being in WWE. I think he's cool with collecting his paycheck, wrestling these matches that he has on WWE, and not really concerned with titles or being in main events like that because he's had plenty of opportunities to leave. I think he just signed a 1-year extension with them as well. I love those movies. They're bad, but still love them. I like the majority of them. It's just the last one. Which one? 9 and 8. The ones with the last two without Paul Walker, I thought were bad. I thought they were bad. Next, we're going to get to Lyra versus Becky. Heading into this match, if Lyra was going to lose, she wasn't going to be able to challenge Becky Lynch for the Women's Intercontinental Champion. So for me, that obviously sets up what? We're going to see Lyra win because Lyra is obviously the young and up-and-comer in this match to where it would make the most sense for her to take this big win, go into winning the championship again. It gets the opportunity for the championship to look a lot more significant. It gives a young individual to have a big-time win against Becky Lynch. But we didn't see that, right? We didn't see that. We saw Becky Lynch pick up the W. And what was a very good match to me, I know Carson said he did not enjoy it. I liked it because I like the angles where you see the storyline being told between the trifecta of Becky Lynch, Bayley, and Lyra, right? It looked as if Lyra was going to be beat with a crowbar, but Bayley was able to make the save. Bayley was being kind of, told by Becky Lynch that, hey, use it, bringing up the fact that, hey, I stole WrestleMania from you. Lyra stole SummerSlam from you. Use it. We weren't able to see that. We saw Becky Lynch and Bayley brawling. The part where we really got the interesting part where we're going to continue on this storyline is you saw Bayley going for this chain punch to Becky Lynch, but she inadvertently hit Lyra. Lyra gets a manhandle slam. 1, 2, 3. Becky Lynch was able to pick up the W. Yeah, AJ would work the same way Bryan Danielson dream match week after week. I think so too, right? Think about all the good matches that AJ Styles could have in AEW. Another match with Will Ospreay. They had one on the Indies. Another match with Samoa Joe. That would have been cool. Him going up against Swerve. Him going up against Jon Moxley. Him going up against, if Bryan Danielson does return, another match with Danielson. There's plenty of different matches that we could see with a returning AJ Styles, but I don't think that he cares. I want to see Dean again in WWE with Roman Reigns and Seth. Moxley needs to stay right where he is. Shield is love. Okay. So if you guys remember, and I know that I bought my dad this book, Jon Moxley dropped a book about basically around the same time where he was leaving WWE. And if you guys remember, Jon Moxley he made it very abundantly clear that he was leaving. You remember they did that Shield reunion. They marketed saying, hey, this is going to be the last time we see the Shield and all these different things. But he talked about the fact that WWE's creative made him so unhappy that they offered him a contract and he didn't even want to look at it, right? Didn't even want to look at the money because he didn't want to be tempted to stay. People tend to romanticize his solo run. I don't. I think that maybe when they're old men and they want to do Shield reunions on the indies or at conventions, I am totally cool with that. But I think that Mox is in a good spot in AEW. He just main evented their biggest show of the year at All In. I don't see him main eventing big time shows for WWE like that, but who knows, right? It's professional wrestling. I never thought CM Punk would be back in WWE, but he is, right? So you never know in professional wrestling. I didn't think Brock Lesnar was going to be back in the WWE, but obviously we saw that he is back. Wrestling is a chaotic business, isn't it? Oh my God. Wrestling is once they put a gas mask on Jonathan, he was like, never again. I am a true luchador, not Dominic. You want me to say something about Dominic, man? We get a lot of conversations in wrestling about work rate, right? I know that one of the guys who is a perfect example about how people want to kind of shit on him is Jey Uso, because let's just be real, nobody's confusing him for Bret Hart in that ring, but him and Dominic Mysterio has something that you can't really teach, and that is the ability to get a reaction. I know that John Cena has stated it multiple different times, especially when he was in his prime, when he had the Let's Go Cena, Cena sucks chant. He always talked about how even if they're booing you out of the building, it's better to get a reaction than no reaction. So Dominic is a guy who's able to get as much heat as possible, and I think that is one of the skills that you can't really be taught. I think Vince is now gone. Maybe Triple H able to bring back Dean. Possibly. I don't know. I don't know their relationship, but I know guys like Dean and Bryan Danielson. They've talked about how the WWE style of wrestling and the way that they present it isn't their thing, and I think that they enjoy where they're at. I know Jon Moxley, he did an interview with his wife on her podcast, and he said if AEW just stayed the exact same way that it is right now, he doesn't plan on leaving. And I think that it's a good spot for him. I think that Tony Khan treats Jon Moxley with the respect that I believe that he enjoys. I feel like Jon Moxley is kind of one of the linchpins of the AEW roster. But like I said, who knows, right? Who knows? We never know. Wrestling is a strange business where you have people going back and forth. It wouldn't surprise me if 5 years from now we see Cody Rhodes return to AEW. Yeah, we don't know. We don't know. I thought Mr. Iguana was going to interfere for sure. Mr. Iguana is a guy who sells a lot of merchandise, and that is something that gets WWE's attention. If you want to be featured on the show, sell some shirts. And Mr. Iguana does that. Next, we get into the steel cage match between Solo and Jacob Fatu. If I watched, Dom would be one of my favorite wrestlers. See what he has. Dom is good, man. Dom does his job right. People, the whole objective of the professional wrestling business is what? To make money, right? And Dom makes money. It's to get people into the building. It's to get reactions. And Dominic does that, you know. It is what it is. People like to do that with Goldberg too, where it's like, hey, the guy wrestled 2 minutes and the match sucked. But hey, the guy sold a lot of merch. People came to see the guy. Even when the internet was crapping on him the most during this last return, what went down? Goldberg was getting his name chanted throughout the arena. So there's a big difference between, and a big disconnect, I think, between people who pay to see the show and people who watch it online. I may have a complete different opinion than somebody who paid $500 to go see an episode of Raw. But it's just so interesting, the juxtapose of the two fan bases. This steel cage match was a lot of interference. Obviously, leave everything thing. The Brock is the best. I'm just shocked that we got the Brock return, man. Because, and you guys know, I don't know how tuned in you guys are to the rumors of what goes on online and wrestling Twitter, but nobody, not a peep, discussed even the slightest possibility of a Brock Lesnar return. And in wrestling, that is probably like the hardest thing to do these days, right? Hide returns and hide debuts and hide secrets. We hear all these different, rumors and things being spoiled. So just the fact that this was a genuine shock, just based off of all the things that are surrounding him and just the fact that nobody saw it coming. It's just a rarity in professional wrestling these days. It was madness. Brock Lesnar. The fact that he confronted John Cena, too, out of all people, I don't think anybody saw that freaking coming. Wow. I see people were saying they added his merch back to the shop this morning, so some people expected it. I know people talked about it a couple weeks ago, where you could have bought that flannel that he was selling with his logo on the back. If somebody saw it coming, or that was a discussion that was had that there was a possibility that he could come back, then it wasn't something that I was privy to, right? I know that there's different social media pages that have these conspiracy theories, but it wasn't something that I was keeping up with. But man, Brock Lesnar back in the WWE. Super shocker. It's been an eventful week for the WWE, right? Because you know that his return is going to get people mad. And you know Triple H appearing at the White House is going to get people mad as well. So it's been this. So it's just this week of, just getting, people upset. That's interesting too, right? WWE being connected to two guys who have been accused of some not so nice things too, right? let's not even touch that. But when Brock returned, I just think I was returning of the Vince era. The Vince era. Let's just not talk about. Let's separate the stuff that's going on right now, right? And let's just strictly talk about from a creative standpoint. I don't know about you guys. And I'm gonna diverge a little bit from the show and just kind of take a moment to discuss it. It was around probably 2017, 18, where prior to AEW, where I wasn't watching wrestling on a weekly basis anymore. I was still keeping up through it, through podcasts and different content. But I was at a moment where I was like, is this going to be the moment where I break away and I'm not a fan anymore? Because I think everybody, or maybe not everybody, but there's a large percentage where there's people who are fans and eventually they die out of it, right? But at that point, the creative was so bad in WWE under Vince McMahon that I thought there is no way that I am going to be able to sit here on a weekly basis and enjoy wrestling because this is just awful, right? But then there was a moment in time, and I think it was the Kenny Omega versus Chris Jericho match in New Japan, where it kind of reignited my love for professional wrestling. And then we got the birth of AEW, and then we got Vince McMahon's ousting and the start of this channel to where it kind of just reinvigorated my love for all things professional wrestling. But that Vince McMahon era was so freaking bad that I hope to God we never go back to it. But in this match, steel cage matches, they're meant to have people not interfere in the match, right? They're meant to keep people out. But that's not what we got. We got the MFTs making their presence known throughout this match, this cage match. You saw Jimmy Uso, no yeet, trying to even things out, but Tonga, how do you? I just been keep calling him Hikuleo, but Tally was able to, just such a large man. Tally was able to kind of just take him out of the equation. He was able to handcuff Jacob Fatu on the top of the steel cage. It looked as if it was just going to be an easy way for Solo to roll out the door. Jacob Fatu, the strong individual that he is, was able to break the handcuffs. Guys, please remember to hit that like button if you can. It helps the channel out in more ways than you even know. He was able to break the handcuffs, bring Solo Sikoa back into the ring, but we saw a moment where both of them were right there by the door, and Tally just slung that door closed. It hit both of them, but Jacob Fatu wasn't able to prevent Solo Sikoa from just kind of flopping out of the cage like a fish, and we saw Solo pick up the win. After the match, we saw the MFTs, who weren't Tally, get picked up by Jacob Fatu. Jacob Fatu inevitably hit the moonsault off of the top of the cage. We knew that was going to happen. I thought it was going to happen during the actual match, but it happened afterwards. And then we see at least he was able to come out looking strong, not win the match, but he wasn't able to go out looking like some punk, right? I think the rivalry is Jacob versus Lova next. I think Tally's a big guy, isn't it? Big dude. We got to the match right before the main event, Dominic Mysterio versus AJ Styles. This is the 20th anniversary of Dominic Mysterio's WWE debut. Guys, remember he was involved in the infamous ladder match for his custody between Eddie Guerrero and Rey Mysterio. One of my personal favorite matches of all time. SummerSlam 05 has a soft spot in my heart. That was also the show that was main evented with Hulk Hogan versus Shawn Michaels, which is a guilty pleasure match for me. I know a lot of people don't enjoy that match because of all the selling that Shawn Michaels did, where he was just flopping like a fish throughout that whole match, but I secretly love it, and I don't care who judges me for loving that match. But you see AJ come out in a lowrider, very much so a tribute to Eddie Guerrero. He has Styles Heat on his shirt in the design of the Latino Heat shirt, and he has tights that are very reminiscent to the same tights that Eddie Guerrero wore for that match against Rey Mysterio. And in this match, you saw multiple different spots that were the greatest hits of Eddie Guerrero's career. We saw the referee have the turnbuckle taken off, and you saw Dominic Mysterio throw the chair to AJ Styles for him to catch it and have Dominic Mysterio lay on the ground, similar to what Eddie Guerrero used to do. But then AJ puts the chair over his neck, and they both lay down, has the referee confused. Ref doesn't know what is going on, so they continue the match. We see Styles having Dominic Mysterio in the calf crusher. But just like at WrestleMania 21, when we saw that match between Eddie Guerrero and Kurt Angle, the shoe comes off Dominic Mysterio and he was able to, have this confused face on AJ Styles. AJ was about to be accidentally bumped into the referee, but Dominic Mysterio uses the shoe, hits AJ Styles in the head, hits a frog splash, tribute to Eddie. 1, 2, 3. Dominic Mysterio, he lied, cheated, and stole his way to a title defense. Dominic Mysterio, the greatest luchador of this planet Earth, right? Guys, please remember to hit that like button and subscribe. And we are getting into the main event, the match of the night. John Cena, Cody Rhodes. To start it off, I'm just going to be real, guys. I didn't have much anticipation for this match because their match at WrestleMania sucked so bad. But on the other hand, it was so bad that I thought, well, shit, it can't get any worse, right? So, but that's just saying how low the bar was. But this match was great. Great. Cena's best match since his matches with AJ Styles. My thing that was something that I saw that really kind of interested me as well was we saw points where there was a lot of like spamming of the finishers, right? John Cena hit like an AA after an AA, and Cody Rhodes was able to kick out. Cody Rhodes hit the triple crossroads, and John Cena was able to kick out. We saw all these different spots throughout this match where it was just finisher after finisher, and all these guys are kicking out, and it's just like we see a lot of wrestling purists where it's like all AEW does is they spam their finishes in their matches, and they want to act like that's a 5-star match. But I already know what's going to happen. Those same people are going to see this match, and the exact same thing happened in AEW, saying, oh, this is good, but that's bad. Let me give you guys a little personal story. I don't know how familiar you guys are with Robin Lundberg, right? Robin Lundberg does co-hosting on Busted Open Radio with Denise Salcedo. He's on her channel as well for the SmackDown post shows that they do. Big figure in the WNBA. But we were texting each other back and forth during All In. Now, Robin, not really an AEW guy, but he needed to watch it because he was going to cover it on the show, right? For Busted Open. And we were watching the Casino Battle Royal. And he was saying, man, this match sucks. You know, it's just a bunch of guys waiting for their spots. And I had to remind him, I say, oh, kind of like the Royal Rumble. It's like these guys, people kind of get, people like to pick sides when it comes to this wrestling thing, and they kind of just lose sight of the obvious, right? Just because one has a certain logo or the other one, that means even if they do the same thing, this one's good because it's the logo that I like. Oh my God, Sean had a point to get across to somebody that the night Dom is the best heel outside of MJF in the business. MJF is really good. MJF is very good. Best heel in the business? Shit. It's kind of hard to say right now, right? Kind of hard. I like the work that Ricochet is doing, but he's kind of getting, kind of cooling down at the moment. Best heel in the business. It's not John Cena, that's for sure, right? Which is strange to say. But the moment that I found the most interesting, and we kind of got that time where it looked as if we were teasing this double turn, right? Where you had Cody Rhodes kind of unscrew the rope. And at the end of it, you obviously got this metal stick. And you see Cody Rhodes hit John Cena in the face with it once. He looks conflicted. Then he hits John Cena again with it. He's asking the ref to just stop this, right? But that's when John Cena was able to get out of there and press an AA. And was able to kick out of it. But we see this match end up with basically very reminiscent of the Shawn Michaels Ric Flair retirement. Let me put in quotation, retirement match, where Shawn Michaels basically says, I'm sorry, I love you, and kicks Ric Flair. We see Cody Rhodes hit a salute. Then he hits a crossroads on John Cena. He pins him. John Cena does what The Rock did at WrestleMania 29, where he's raising his hand up. We see John Cena being thanked by the crowd. And after that, you think the show's over, but we hear none other than Brock Lesnar's music. And the place goes apeshit, right? Not just because it's Brock Lesnar and he's a big star, but because nobody freaking expected it. And he comes in, he hits the F5 on John Cena. Looks like that's the direction that we're going to go. Brock Lesnar versus John Cena one more time on this retirement tour. I don't think anybody expected that, right? I don't think he's cooling down because he's bald. They're selling bald hats now. Brock Lesnar. That is the way that we end SummerSlam, with a Brock Lesnar return. Freaking insane, right? Freaking insane. Professional wrestling, you are freaking nuts. It's going to be a crazy night on Raw tomorrow, right? And just so you guys know, if you don't, we do Raw post shows as well. So immediately following that show, we'll be live back here again. We'll be live again on Wednesday for AEW Dynamite. So did Cody win? Yes, Cody Rhodes did win. Cody Rhodes beat John Cena for the title. He pinned him with the crossroads, and he won the title. I'm interested in where they're going to go with Cody Rhodes now, too. Where does he go from here? Who is the person that he's going to feud with? Who would be the natural heel for him to go up against after wrestling John Cena? You could make an argument that it's Drew McIntyre. You could have him go one-on-one with Logan Paul, coming off of their big-time tag team win against Randy Orton and Jelly Roll. That's a possibility. There's a couple of different possibilities. You know, if they don't care about brand splits, you could have Dom Mysterio go one-on-one with Cody Rhodes for the title. There's a couple of different possibilities, but it's going to be an interesting road heading into this part of the year. And I'm going to be here to cover it every single moment for you guys, for us to sit here and discuss it. Guys, I think it's time for me to head out of here. Please remember to hit that like button. Is there any last couple of comments that you guys want to say before we head out? I know this was a very big show, and I know people want to talk about it. And this is exactly what this platform is meant for us to just sit around the water cooler and discuss what went down. Rusev Day. Rusev has been ice freaking cold since he's joined the WWE. He's doing the same gimmick that he did in AEW, and people in WWE do not give one fuck about it. And in his feud against Sheamus, you see people are getting up for Sheamus, but people do not give a damn about what's going on with Rusev. Poor guy, right? All these different rumors that we heard about, him not wanting to come back for AEW because he didn't want to lose, and you hear similar things with Aleister Black, and it's just like what they're doing currently back in the WWE is dog shit. Not on the PLE. Neither of them are on the PLEs, and it just sucks for them, right? Well, at least Aleister is Black. He's back with his wife. Rusev, he gets to be in the company that he feels a lot more comfortable with, and him and Sheamus are friends. Triple H was a big Rusev guy when he ran NXT, so maybe he has more faith in him to have the ability to book him properly than he had in Tony Khan. But so far, not so good. Penta wasn't on the show either, so that is one of the other big-time, people who defected from AEW to WWE. Wasn't on either nights, but hey, seems like they're all happy to be where they're at, right? Jade losing against Tiffany Stratton was interesting as well. I thought it was a shoo-in that we were going to have Jade beat Tiffany Stratton for that title, but guess it was not in the cards. But hey, I think it's going to be it's more so a when, not if she's going to win the title. So I don't think it's the end of the world for her. But guys, I'm about to head out. Please remember, hit that like button, subscribe on the way out if you haven't. I am Kevin Zwicker. See you on Monday.